Alright then, so now hopefully you know a little bit more about what JSON Web Tokens are. Next we need to create them on the server so we can send them back to the browser as part of the response. Now we want to do that in two places in our API. First, in the signup controller function once a user successfully signs up, because normally when you sign up to a website you're automatically logged in or authenticated straight away. So we want to send a token back in this case. And then also in the login controller function after the user successfully logs in. Now we've not done any of the login logic yet, so we'll come back to that later, but we have already done all of the sign up logic so far to save users to the database. So we can send a token back to the user in this response right here. Now, in order to do that, we first need to generate a token, and to do that we need to use the JSON Web Token package. So let's open up a terminal and make sure you're in the backend folder and then cancel out of the current node process. And then we need to type npm install JSON Web Token, all one word, no spaces, and press enter. So once that's installed, we need to require it at the top. So I'm going to say const jwt is equal to require, and then we want the JSON Web Token package. All right. And now on this, we can use a method called sign to basically create and sign a token. Now, before we do that down here, I'm going to actually create my own function called create token. We set that equal to a function. And the reason I'm doing this is so we can reuse this function, which is going to generate these tokens for us in the login user controller function and the sign up user controller function. All right. So as an argument, I'm going to take in the ID, and I'm going to call it underscore ID because that's what MongoDB calls the ID property. And I just want to kind of keep it the same as that. You can just call it ID if you prefer, but I'm going to use underscore ID. And the reason we're passing this in as an argument is because that is going to be part of the payload of the token. All right, so how do we create this token? Well, we take the JWT package that we just grabbed right here, and we use a method called sign. And then inside this sign method, we pass in three arguments. The first one is an object, which kind of represents the payload on the token we want to create. So it has different properties and values that are going to be inside the payload. Now I want an underscore ID property, which is equal to the underscore ID that we take in right here. Now, since these are named the same, I can just shorten this. So that is the first argument. You can put other things in here if you want into the payload, but remember, nothing sensitive. And the second argument is going to be the secret. Remember, that is some kind of secret string only known to the server. So I could type it in all here, but remember, if I then upload this to GitHub or some other public repository, then people can see this and it should be secret. So instead what I'm going to do is I'm going to put this in my environment variables. So I'm going to come down here and create a new environment variable called secret. And this secret I'm going to copy from my repo, ironically. And it's just a load of random words mushed together. But to be honest, you're probably better going to some kind of password generator, making something a bit more secure. But anyway, we have this secret string now, and then I can access that from this file by using process.env. So I can say right here as a second argument, process.env.secret. Awesome. So that's the second argument. The third argument is going to be basically just some options. And the only option I want to set is the expires in property, and that's going to be 3 days. So basically, the user would remain logged in for 3 days, and then the token is going to expire. Okay? And that's all we need to do. We're creating this token now, but we're not doing anything with it. We need to actually return it from this function. And therefore, when we call this function, it's going to return this token for us. All right, so we need that token down inside this controller function where we sign up a user. So after we've saved them to the database, let's create a token right here. So I can say const token is equal to create token, the function we just created up here, and we need to pass in the ID of the user. Now we get that from this user object right here. This represents the document we just saved. So I can say user._ID. So we're passing that in now. And that's going to be on the payload of the token itself. Now finally, I want to pass this token back as a response, and we'll do that instead of the user document right here. So I'll say token, like so, and we're passing that back to the browser now. And remember, this is going to be that big long string or rather those three separate strings bunched together. The payload encoded, the headers encoded, and also the secret encoded, all bunched together. So let's try this out in Postman. Alright then, so in Postman, I've still got the same endpoint right here. We're going to send a post request to that endpoint. And I'm going to use the same data as before, just to see that we get the right error back. So let's send this, and we can see, yep, the email is already in use. So let's think of another character, Luigi. So Luigi at netninja.dev, same password, and we'll send this. And yeah, we can see now we created that user. Here's the email address, and here, my friends, is the token. And you can see these three dots. These are separating the three different parts of the token. So we have the first part, the header, then we have the payload until the next dot, which is right here, and then finally the signature right there. So now on that sign up request, we are saving the user to the database, we're hashing their password, and we also generated a token for that user to send back to the browser to say, hey, look, yeah, that was a success. And now you're authenticated. You're automatically logged in after signing up. So we're going to use this in the front end later on. But first of all, for now, what I'd like to do is show you how we can log in users as well.